Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is R.S. Raghu, and with me is Abhineet Shukla, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment, and more. The headlines. India, France hold counter-terrorism meet at Paris, seeks concerted action against all terror networks including Al-Qaeda, Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed and Hizbul Mujahideen. Pakistan Parliament passes a bill to grant Kulbhushan Jadhav right to file review appeal against his conviction. Kartarpur Corridor opens from Wednesday ahead of Guru Nanak birth anniversary after 20 months. Indian Cabinet approves 4G mobile services for over 7,000 villages in Maoist-affected areas of 5 states. Prime Minister to deliver keynote address at the Sydney Dialogue at 9 a.m. on Thursday. And New Delhi reaffirms its commitment to strengthening Indian Ocean Rim Association. As India created history by administering 100 crore vaccine doses against COVID-19, All India Radio salutes all the doctors, nurses, other frontline workers and all those who got vaccinated and made this possible. Even though the country has achieved this feat, we caution our listeners that the battle against COVID is not yet over. We appeal to our listeners to get fully vaccinated at the earliest and also help others get vaccinated. During the festival season, please follow these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, and focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact the national helpline numbers 011-2397-8046 and 1075. And now the news in detail. In a counter-terrorism meeting which was held in Paris on Tuesday, India and France shared their assessment of the evolution of the terrorist threat on their respective territories and in their regional environment. They also emphasized the need to ensure that Afghan territory does not become a source of radicalization and terrorism. They also exchanged views on threats posed by UN-sanctioned terrorist entities and individuals. They emphasized the need for taking concerted action against all terrorist networks including Al-Qaeda and ISIS, Daesh as well as Lashkar-e-Taiba, LET, Jaish-e-Mohammed, JEM and Hizbul Mujahideen, including making sure that perpetrators of terrorist attacks are systematically and expeditiously brought to justice. Participants in the meet were Mahavir Singhvi, Joint Secretary, Counter-Terrorism at the Indian Ministry of External Affairs, and Philippe Berthoud, Director for Strategic Affairs, Security and Disarmament at the French Ministry for Europe and Foreign Affairs. Pakistan's Parliament, in its joint sitting on Wednesday, enacted a law to give Indian death row prisoner Kulbhushan Jadhav the right to file a review appeal against his conviction by a military court. India had approached the International Court of Justice ICJ against Pakistan for denial of consular access to Jadhav and challenging the death sentence. After hearing both the sides, the Hague-based ICJ issued a verdict in July 2019 asking Pakistan to give India consular access to Jadhav and also ensure review of his conviction. The ICJ ruling had directed the Pakistan Assembly to give it an effective review and reconsideration. Kulbhushan Jadhav, a 50-year-old retired Indian Navy officer, was sentenced to death by Pakistani military court on charges of espionage and terrorism in April of 2017.
Kartarpur Corridor, which allows Sikh pilgrims to travel visa-free to the Kartarpur Gurudwara in Pakistan via the Atari-Wagah border, reopened on Wednesday after 20 months. The Union government yesterday announced the reopening of the Kartarpur Sahib Gurudwara corridor ahead of Guru Purab, the birth anniversary of Guru Nanak Dev Ji, on Friday. In a series of tweets, Home Minister Amit Shah said, reopening the Kartarpur corridor will benefit a large number of Sikh pilgrims. He said, this decision reflects the immense reverence of the Modi government towards Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji and our Sikh community. Former Punjab Chief Minister Captain Amrinder Singh thanked Prime Minister and the Home Minister for their decision to reopen the corridor. Earlier, leaders of the Bharatiya Janata Party in Punjab met President Ramnath Kovind and Amit Shah requesting that the corridor be reopened. The proposal for the special corridor was first pitched back in 1999 by former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee and his then Pakistani counterpart Nawaz Sharif. Sikh pilgrims from India earlier used to take a bus to Lahore to eventually get to Kartarpur, which made the journey almost 125 kilometers long. The Kartarpur Corridor was inaugurated on the 9th of November 2019 to mark the 550th Prakash Guru Parv, the birth anniversary of Guru Nanak. In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a discussion on the reopening of Kartarpur Sahib Corridor. In conversation, our former diplomat Veena Sikri with Nilova Roy Chaudhary, journalist.
The Indian government on Tuesday that it was allowing the reopening of the 4.7 kilometer long Kartarpur Corridor, which links the Gurdwara Darbar Sahib in Pakistan, which is supposed to be the final resting place of the founder of Sikhism, Guru Nanak Dev, to the Dera Baba Nanak Shrine in Gurdaspur district of Punjab in India. The Union Home Minister Amit Shah said that the government had decided to reopen the Kartarpur Sahib Corridor from today ahead of the Gurpurab celebrations, which are held to celebrate the Guru Nanak Dev's birth anniversary, which falls this year on November the 19th. The pilgrimage to the Kartarpur Sahib Gurdwara was suspended in March 2020 due to the COVID pandemic. But as the corridor reopened today, several pilgrims have apparently traveled through the corridor on Wednesday to offer prayers at the revered shrine after the route opened following a 20-month hiatus due to the COVID pandemic. The Kartarpur Corridor allows Indian devotees visa-free access to the final resting place of Guru Nanak. It was inaugurated by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji on November 9th, 2019. To mark the 550th birth anniversary of the first Sikh. We are joined today by Ambassador Veena Sikri to explain the significance of this corridor and what the reopening of this particular corridor means in terms of India's relations with Pakistan. Good evening, Veena.
Good evening. How are you, Nilva?
Very well, thank you. Pakistan had last week apparently sought the reopening of the Kartarpur Corridor to facilitate the travel of Indian pilgrims to the revered shrine. Do you believe these suggestions were made in good faith?
Well, I think that first, the most important point that we would like to focus on is the actual opening of the corridor now. This is a very, very special occasion. It is the 552nd birth anniversary of Guru Nanak Dev. And in fact, the first opening of the corridor, which was inaugurated on November 9th, 2019, was on the 550th birth anniversary of Guru Nanak Dev, the founder of the Sikh religion. So this is indeed a very special occasion that the corridor has been reopened. I think we have to accept that it was closed for 20 months because of the great fear of the COVID pandemic. And we do know that in June this year, as you said, there were some moves that to open it on the Pakistani side. But in June, India was reeling after the huge spike in COVID cases in April and May. And it is clear that the government was playing it very carefully, absolutely correctly, because there was no reason to disturb the effort to bring down the COVID cases by opening up further interactions or possibility of infection spreading. Since then, gradually the number of COVID cases has come down. The situation is much, much better today. The vaccination program has strengthened considerably. We've gone well beyond 1 billion jabs, which is a great achievement in a period of just 9 months. So there is a lot of confidence now that the COVID protocols can be managed and that dangers of increased infection can be kept under control. So keeping the COVID protocols very much in mind, and on the auspicious occasion of the 552nd birth anniversary of Guru Nanak Dev, this Kartarpur Corridor has been opened. It is a matter of great rejoicing. As the Honorable Chief Minister of Punjab said, this is a great day for all Punjabis and in particular for the Sikh community, because they can now make this pilgrimage by traveling just a distance of 4.5 kilometers. Otherwise, if the corridor is not functioning and if there is a possibility of wanting to visit Shrine, the Gurdwara which commemorates the place where Guru Nanak Dev breathed his last, then you have to travel more than 100 kilometers, well over 100 kilometers via Lahore and so on, which is obviously a matter of great difficulty. And this opening of the corridor has been welcomed by the first Jatha has already crossed over today as we speak. So this is a very great positive development. Tomorrow the Chief Minister of Punjab and perhaps most of his cabinet will also be visiting, and every day now, because the protocol for registering for visits has already been put into place and is already functioning, so one does expect that over the next few days, maybe as many as 1,000-1,500 people may visit. And certainly it is the hope that the corridor will be kept open, but one has to see how the situation evolves.
Apparently, in the 4 months before the corridor had to be shut because of the COVID pandemic, close to about 70,000 people actually traversed this corridor and visited the shrine. You know, in itself, allowing pilgrimages is something that certainly improves people-to-people relations. And so in this particular case, would you say that it might help to ease some of the various tensions that exist within India-Pakistan bilateral relations? Or would you say that this is just something that is confined to the realm of people-to-people, religious tourism, as it were?
So a pilgrimage is a very important aspect of travel throughout the Indian subcontinent. All countries, from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, all these countries, Bhutan, everywhere, they do travel, visit each other with the purpose of pilgrimage. Within India itself, domestic travel, pilgrimage is the single most important reason for domestic travel. So obviously, pilgrimage is a very important factor. And I think that the very fact of groups of pilgrims crossing the Indian border into Pakistan through the Kartarpur Corridor and in the Gurdwara there is an important factor because, when you have good arrangements on the other side, the first Jatha, it is said, was welcomed at the Atari Wagah border, with Tiropas and all that, and they were very happy with the crossing over. So it is an important factor to strengthen the feel-good factor between the peoples of India and Pakistan. And if this corridor, that pilgrimage to Kartarpur Corridor, can continue easily without any difficulty for the next few weeks and months even perhaps, it will certainly be a good thing, which does strengthen the feel-good factor. But clearly this cannot be the only issue, because as we saw just yesterday in the UN Security Council, we had a very sharp exchange between, after the statement made at the UN Security Council by the permanent representative of Pakistan, and our diplomatic colleague had to respond sharply to it on the issues of cross-border terrorism, on the issue of the difficulties, on terrorism that India has been facing, and that India is willing to discuss all issues with Pakistan, whatever they may be, but dialogue cannot take place in an atmosphere which is spoiled, ruined, destroyed by terrorists having a free pass and killing ordinary people, destroying the lives of ordinary people throughout India, particularly in the border areas, particularly throughout the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, the whole area of Jammu and Kashmir, and that this is an integral part of India. It is the area which was, which acceded to India and which has to, be consolidated as a whole. So this is a very, very strong position which the government has taken, which is reinforced by a all-party parliamentary resolution. So I think this aspect does remain at the priority of everyone's attention. And, one hopes that the question of cross-border terrorism will be tackled seriously and effectively by the government of Pakistan. And of course, there is real concern after what's happening in Afghanistan as well. But Pakistan did not come to New Delhi for the meeting of regional NSAs, National Security Advisors, which took place just a few days ago. So, these are the mixed signals that are very strongly mixed signals, I would say. Nonetheless, despite these very strongly mixed signals and serious concern about the issue of cross-border terrorism, the government of India has decided to go ahead with the reopening of the Kartarpur Corridor, primarily out of deep concern and respect for the people of Punjab, for the Sikh community of Punjab, for their deep and abiding interest in ease of access through the Kartarpur Corridor. And this is really a feel-good factor as much domestically as in the bilateral relations with Pakistan, but it cannot be something that can be saying that this will definitely lead to further things because, we need indications on other aspects as well, notably cross-border terrorism.
Absolutely. But Veena, the point is this certainly goes to some extent to relieve, what should we say, some of the people-centric concerns that the average citizen of India has. But is one of the major problems with this corridor was always the apprehension that it could somehow be turned into corridor through which, terrorists could be sent into India or something along those lines. So possibility, or is that absolutely not a possibility given the state of security?
Well, as far as the border with Pakistan is concerned, even the Atari-Wagah border, it's not that no crossings are taking place. Some very limited crossings are taking place. But every stage, at every place where these people-to-people relationships are sought to be strengthened, obviously great care and attention has to be paid. Protocols have to be in place. The systems of application and the systems of crossing into Pakistan and crossing back into India are rigidly observed and followed and, followed carefully. So that is very much there. But, people to people, as I said, is one very important aspect, but there is also trade. Now, the trade has completely been stopped. And even today, the use of Pakistan territory for sending wheat to Afghanistan. The Indian government is wanting to send about 50,000 metric tons of wheat to Afghanistan as a humanitarian gesture because winter is approaching. There could be shortages of food and so on. But so far, Pakistan has not agreed to let this wheat be transported across Pakistan territory. So, the trade and movement of goods is very important. Now, as we saw that when we did have trading points in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, some of them were completely misused and had to be stopped. There was definitely misuse of some of those points of trade and crossover that was taking place. And it is the very strict monitoring of the Indian authorities and Border Security Force and other agencies in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir because of all their collective endeavors that these things were detected. And a very popular cross-border activity of trade had to be stopped. So clearly, when these people-to-people interactions take place, it is always a good thing. But the usual concerns, the usual very close vigil is maintained at all times and procedures are put in place to make sure that security protocols are observed.
Absolutely. And on that particularly auspicious and happy note, I think thank you so much indeed, Veena, for all of your insights. And we hope this corridor stays open and enables everyone to perform the pilgrimages that they desire. Thank you very much.
Thank you indeed.
The Union Cabinet has given the nod to provide 4G mobile services in over 7,000 villages of 44 aspirational districts across Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Maharashtra and Odisha. Addressing the media in New Delhi on Wednesday, Information and Broadcasting Minister Mr. Anurag Thakur said mobile towers connectivity will be provided in left-wing extremist areas. The minister said the project is expected to be worth 6,466 crore rupees.
5 राज्य जहां पर उत्तर प्रदेश, छत्तीसगढ़, झारखंड, महाराष्ट्र और ओडिशा के ऐसे 44 आकांक्षी जिलों के 7,267 गांव में मोबाइल टावर्स की और मोबाइल फोन को जो सुविधाएं हैं वो वहां पर दी जाएंगी। ये 4G पर आधारित मोबाइल सेवाएं उपलब्ध करवाने के लिए निर्णय किया गया है। इस प्रोजेक्ट पर लगभग 6,466 करोड़ रुपए का व्यय अनुमानित है और जिनमें हमारे कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर के साथ साथ 5 वर्षों के लिए ऑपरेशनल एक्सपेंडिचर का भी प्रावधान इसमें सम्मिलित है।
The cabinet has also approved the continuation of Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana PMGSY 1 and 2 and Road Connectivity Project for Left-Wing Extremism Affected Areas RCPLWEA. He said 4,490 kilometer road length and 105 bridges have already been completed under RCPLWEA since 2016 in 44 districts and 9 states. Mr. Thakur said roads will be built through dense forests, mountains and rivers. A total of 1,12,419 crore rupees, including state share, is likely to be incurred from 2021-22 to 2024-25 for completion of all the ongoing interventions of PMGSY. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will deliver the keynote address at the Sydney Dialogue on Thursday around 9 a.m. He will speak on the theme of India's technology evolution and revolution, with the address being preceded by introductory remarks by the Australian Prime Minister. The Sydney Dialogue is being held from 17th to 19th of November this month. It is an initiative of the Australian Strategic Policy Institute. It will bring together political, business and government leaders to debate, generate new ideas and work towards common understandings of the opportunities and challenges posed by emerging and critical technologies. The event will also witness keynote address by Australian Prime Minister Mr. Scott Morrison and former Prime Minister of Japan Mr. Shinzo Abe. This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
Welcome back. India on Wednesday reaffirmed its strong commitment to strengthening Indian Ocean Rim Association, IORA. Virtually participating in the 21st Annual Council of Ministers COM meeting, Minister of State in External Affairs Ministry Rajkumar Ranjan Singh said, IORA, the largest and preeminent organization in the Indian Ocean region, is promoting peace, security and prosperity in the region as well as in the wider Indo-Pacific. Mr. Singh highlighted India's contributions as coordinator of the IORA priority areas of disaster risk management (DRM). During the strategic dialogue on the topic impact of COVID-19 and perspectives of economic recovery in the Indian Ocean region, the minister provided an overview of India's own experience of combating COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Singh highlighted India's assistance as the first responder in the region to various countries in the Indo-Pacific during the COVID pandemic and emphasized India's readiness to share its experience and resources in the spirit of solidarity. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu called upon innovators, techies and researchers to create knowledge and explore solutions that are useful for the happiness of mankind. Speaking after inaugurating 3-day Bengaluru Tech Summit, the Vice President advised them to use IT, BT, duty and be mighty. He added that the goal must be to reform, perform and transform. During the inaugural event, the Prime Minister of Australia, Scott Morrison, addressed the gathering virtually. He expressed happiness over improving bilateral cooperation between India and Australia in the area of climate change, cyber security, defence, mines and minerals, clean energy, space science and quantum computing. He said that Australia is also working together with India on the Gaganyaan project of ISRO and other critical technologies. He announced that Australia will soon set up its Consulate General Office in Bengaluru to expand its diplomatic presence in India. Israel Prime Minister Naftali Bennett delivered a speech virtually saying that both India and Israel have forged collaboration in various areas of technology. He pointed out that India, with its expertise in digital technology, and Israel, known for its innovation, have come together for amazing things to happen. He said that he will visit India soon and hoped for further improvement in ties.
The head of the UN nuclear watchdog will visit Tehran on Monday to discuss Iran's nuclear program. The spokesman for Iran's atomic agency said, as several key dates approach. International Atomic Energy Agency IAEA Chief Rafael Grossi had expressed concern on November 12th over lack of contact with the Iranian government, describing it as astonishing. He said he had hoped to meet Iranian officials ahead of the next meeting of the IAEA's Boards of Governors, which was scheduled for November 22nd. Iran responded 3 days later by inviting the UN nuclear chief to Tehran. Myanmar's ousted leader Aung San Suu Kyi has been charged by the military government of election fraud and lawless actions. She was among 16 people to be charged yesterday, including Myanmar's ousted president and the capital city's mayor. Ms. Suu Kyi, 76, has not been seen in public since the military coup in February removed her from office. Meanwhile, Myanmar's army spokesman told media that Ms. Suu Kyi is being treated well while under house arrest. But Ms. Suu Kyi's lawyer said that the military junta has banned them from speaking publicly about her case, and United Nations officials demanding to see her have not been allowed into the country. The UN has said that military crackdown could amount to crimes against humanity, but its envoys have repeatedly been denied access to Myanmar to investigate.
And now a report from the business world.
The BSE Sensex declined 314 points or 0.52% to finish at 60,008. The NSE Nifty also tumbled 101 points or 0.56% to end at 17,899. Amongst the global stock markets, major Asian equity indices fell, dragged by worries about COVID-19 and higher share valuations. South Korea's Kospi declined 1.2% and Japan's Nikkei fell 0.4%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng ended 0.3% down and Singapore's Straits Times fell 0.2%. On the other hand, China's Shanghai Composite Index gained 0.4%. European markets were mixed, but trading in a narrow range in the intraday trade. Oil prices fell after the International Energy Agency, IEA, and OPEC warned of impending oversupply, and as COVID-19 cases in Europe increased the downside risks to demand recovery. However, a fall in U.S. gasoline stocks curbed the losses. In intraday trade, Brent crude was trading around $82 per barrel. And back home, gold prices rose 130 rupees at the multi-commodity exchange for December contracts in sync with gains in the international markets. The precious metal was trading at 49,170 rupees per 10 grams in the intraday trade. Silver also gained 410 rupees to 66,640 rupees per kilogram for December contracts when reports last came in. And in the forex market, the rupee appreciated 10 paise to close at 74 rupees and 27 paise against the US dollar. Nishit Kumar for World News, All India Radio.
India's COVID vaccination coverage has crossed 114 crore 37 lakh mark on Wednesday. Out of the total vaccination, more than 75 crore 75 lakh vaccine doses have been given as first dose, while over 38 crore 62 lakh doses have been administered as second dose. Health Ministry said that more than 65 lakh vaccine doses were administered till 7 p.m. on Wednesday. As part of the nationwide vaccination drive, the centre has been supporting the states and union territories by providing them COVID vaccines free of cost. The International Cricket Council ICC has decided that India and Bangladesh will jointly host the 2031 ICC Men's Cricket World Cup. The hosts were selected via a competitive bidding process which was overseen by a board subcommittee chaired by Martin Sweden along with Saurav Ganguly and Ricky Skedit. The ICC confirmed the 14 host countries for the ICC men's white ball events from 2024 to 2031. It includes 11 full members and 3 associate members who will host 2 ICC Men's World Cups, 4 ICC Men's T20 World Cups and 2 ICC Men's Champions Trophy events. In cricket, India registered a 5-wicket victory over New Zealand in the first T20 of the 3-match series at Savai Mansingh Stadium in Jaipur tonight. Put into bat first, New Zealand posted a total of 164 runs for 6 wickets with the help of Martin Guptill's 70 and Mark Chapman's 63 runs. For India, Bhuvneshwar Kumar and Ravichandran Ashwin scalped 2 wickets apiece. In reply, the hosts overhauled the target in 19.4 overs, riding on Suryakumar Yadav's 62 and Captain Rohit Sharma's 48 runs.
Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. Tolo News writes Islamic Emirate calls on US Congress to release funds. Ceylon News reports showers to continue, Amber Alert issued for seas. The Globe and Mail writes Abbotsford issues urgent plea to evacuate Suma's Prairie. Officials say flooding could be catastrophic. The Guardian says Denmark accuses UK of breaking Brexit fishing deal over trawling ban. Financial Times writes top Barclays investors raise alarm over terms of Jess Staley's exit. Washington Post says 100,000 Americans died of drug overdoses in 12 months during the pandemic. And the Wall Street Journal reports US moves to bolster Asia trade ties in bid to counter China's influence. A quick look at the headlines once again. India, France hold counter-terrorism meet at Paris, seeks concerted action against all terror networks including Al-Qaeda, Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed and Hizbul Mujahideen. Kartarpur Corridor opens from Wednesday ahead of Guru Nanak birth anniversary after 20 months. Indian Cabinet approves 4G mobile services for over 7,000 villages in Maoist-affected areas of 5 states. Prime Minister to deliver keynote address at the Sydney Dialogue at 9 a.m. on Thursday. New Delhi reaffirms its commitment to strengthening Indian Ocean Rim Association. Australia to set up its Consulate General Office in Bengaluru, soon to expand its diplomatic presence in India. And in cricket, India defeat New Zealand by 5 wickets in the first T20 match in Jaipur. India is celebrating the 152nd birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Before we end, let us listen to his favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Switzerland. And that is the end of this news bulletin.